Baptist Church. Pastor, how are you? Thanks for being here again.
Dear Lord, we give thanks for this evening, and we give thanks for your goodness to us. Tonight we acknowledge that we need you for every step that we take and every decision that even this council makes tonight. We pray that you would fill them with wisdom, integrity, and help as they deliberate, as they think about the future of this city. We pray that every step would be guided by providence and shaped by your will for this town. Lord, we also give thanks for Westlake Academy. We pray blessing over their school. We pray for protection over their spaces, wisdom for their leaders, help for their students. We pray, Jesus, that you would bless this year with incredible excitement as it ends. Thank you for all that you do for us. Thank you most of all that you've died on the cross for our sins in our place. We thank you for all that you're doing in this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pastor, thank you again. We've been doing this now 2 years, and you've been a big part of this, so we really appreciate you being here. Now, please rise and join in the pledges. Assisted by Dr. Ritchie.
All right, students, if you're here to be recognized tonight, if you'll come up, we're going to do a group pledge, and then we're going to have some introductions of your accomplishments individually. So come on up here. Don't be shy. You're okay. I'm not going to make you hold the microphone unless you want to. All right. Everybody, if we're here for soccer and DECA and Model UN, spelling, all of the exciting, anybody that wants to come up. Nanika, would you like to hold the microphone? I bet you'll do great. All right.
We'll start with the pledge.
We're going to start with the pledges and then do our recognition.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Great job, guys. All right, so we're going to start. We have, as you can see, we have a lot of students that we're going to be recognizing tonight. Students, when I call your name out, if you'll come up, we're going to make sure you get some love from everybody in the room. What I want to point out to the board members is, and anybody who's here with us tonight, these are the kinds of students that we get to work with every day. And we are never at a loss for all of their talents, all of the things they bring to our school, to our community, the way they represent us, the pride that they bring to all of us. And we're so glad they can be here tonight with their families. So first we're going to recognize our Westlake Academy's Got Talent, which was our talent show that we recently held. This is an annual event that our House of Commons helps us with. First place, we had, let's do third place. Let's build the first place. So third place, we had Dexter Schwann and Connor Justak, and those are both grade 7 students. Guys, if you'll come up here. We have Connor. All right, good job. Tell me what you guys did.
We did a comedy act.
Comedy act. All right, can you share like a little bit, or is it a whole thing? Yeah, you have one really good one? Okay. All right, well, congratulations. Thank y'all for being here. Let's get a picture with Mayor Graves here. All right, second place we had Isaac Wayne, Jonah Crawford, who are both grade 3 students, Eli Ring and Ethan Evans, who are both grade 5 students. Guys, are you here? Not here tonight? Okay. So those were second place. And then first place we have Nanika Mulanini. And Nanika, what did you do?
I did dance.
You did dance. What kind of dance?
Pop, I guess. Yeah.
All right. Very nice. So first place went to Nanika. So very good. Let's get you a picture with Mayor Graves. All right, we are also going to recognize. Oh, I'm so sorry. So sorry. Oh, Mayor Graves actually judged this.
No, I didn't get to judge, but I got to hand out the award.
Okay.
It's the second year talent show. If you haven't gone to the talent show, do it. It's unbelievable. These kids were great. The second place, you killed it. You just did an unbelievable job. I'm so proud of you. But guys, go to the talent show. And Miss Estrada that does that. It's just a fabulous program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're very, very lucky because you do get to see all of the kids' talents on display. All right, so we are going to also recognize Zain Hashmani, one of our grade 8 students. Zain. All right, Zain recently placed first as best delegate in the Model UN conference, and that makes him eligible to go to the 2026 Model UN National Championship. Can you tell us what country that you serve to represent?
Yeah, so I did 2 committees, and on the first one I did France, and the second one I did Belize. So the first one was like a standard committee, and basically you were given like a scenario, and you had to like make a whole together with the other nations to like decide to like what you wanted to do. And then the second committee was the crisis committee, and in the middle of the session, you would just get like a random, basically a crisis, and you had to solve that with your other countries and make sure that you could solve the issue in a timely manner.
Very useful skills right now. All right, I'm going to have Mr. Chua come up.
Dr. Ritchie, where will the national United Nations be?
Where are they going to be, Zane? Orlando? Oh, very nice. All right, maybe we'll get to stay an extra day. All right, so Mr. Chua is going to talk about Shubi Sharma.
Yes. So I have the pleasure of introducing Shubi Sharma, who's in grade 7. So, of course, she was the Westlake Academy Spelling Bee champion this year. But it's important to note that this wasn't her first year winning the Westlake Academy Spelling Bee category. She also did it in 4th grade and actually beat our middle school students in that. So for her to go and win in Denton this year, absolutely phenomenal, and something that I know she'll just go on and continue to win those awards. So congratulations.
Your 5th grade? 6th grade now.
6th grade, wow.
So remember when I said probably run our
Hey, Shubi, what was the winning word?
The winning word was Philippics.
What?
Philippics.
What does that mean?
It's like invectiveness.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. All right, I'm going to have Jen Posey-Stockton come up to talk to us about DECA.
Well, if you don't know what DECA is, it is a business and marketing competition that prepares young entrepreneurs and future business leaders. We brought it back to our campus last year, and last year we had 14 students compete regionally and 6 moved on to states. This year we had 41 at regionals and we had 16 move on to states. So we didn't just grow, we accelerated. And we had 2 students make the stage. We had 1 medalist, and we have 1 state champion, Ishan Patel, who will be moving on. Ishan will be representing us on the international stage in Atlanta at the end of April, and we're very proud of him. Do you want to talk? I don't know who to give that to.
All right, I'm going to have Teddy Davis come up to talk to us about art accomplishments.
So unfortunately, Sophia cannot be here today, but still going to give her a massive shout out. So this was our first year as Westlake Academy competing in what's called VACE, and we had 26 10th through seniors go and discuss their art with a judge, and all of those kids scored on the highest rubric of 4, so they all received medals for that in their different divisions. Division 2 through 4. Sophia's a senior. She's in Division 4, which is the hardest one to compete in, and she is now advancing to state, so that's a really, really big deal. Only the top 5% of all artists out of 1,500 entries get to go. So huge shout out to Sophia.
And Teddy is being, of course, very humble in this. We know the kinds of instruction and guidance that it takes from all of these adults to be able to get our students to these levels. So thank you thank you all for what you pour into them every day. All right, last but not least, I'm going to have Sarah Jones come up to talk about our soccer team, our girls' soccer team. All right, ladies, get up here.
Come on. Come on.
Okay. This is our 2025-2026 girls soccer team. It's a privilege to recognize these incredible young ladies. Yes, spread on out. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate them today. Under new leadership, this team made an outstanding return to the state championship game. Last time they won it in 2024, so these seniors won it as sophomores and seniors. They're led by head coach Mackenzie Reidman, a proud Westlake alum, and assistant coach Kenneth Speaks. Coach Reidman has made an immediate impact, bringing energy, connection, and a competitive edge back to her alma mater. This senior-heavy group, if you're a senior, step forward. This is only half of them. Exceptionally young talent as well, displayed by these amazing seniors. Relentless drive throughout the season and postseason. I personally had the opportunity to go down to Georgetown and watch firsthand how fun they are. And if you were not able to catch a game, I'm sorry. These girls took a beating the whole entire time. Ryan over here got nailed in the head. This one took one off the kneecap, you know. So a bunch of fight, battling through adversity, staying composed in high pressure moments. The culture that Coach Redmond's building is something truly special. Please join me. This is the 55th state championship for Westlake Academy, and this is your 2026 Teo Girls State Soccer Champions.
Good job, girls.
So one of the things you might notice is Miss Reidman was part of our success at DECA, and she also was instrumental to the success with the soccer team. As Miss Jones mentioned, Miss Reidman is new to us this year in this teaching capacity, and one of the things that we do, and Ms. Davis is new with us. One of the things that we do is when we are looking for talent to bring on, we are looking for the absolute best people to put in front of our students. And so we are very, very grateful to have these women with us. And Ms. Jones, who is leading so many improvements and changes in athletics.
Coach.
All right, the future's bright, guys. It's here in this room, and we are just so grateful to be a part of it, and we are excited to have you celebrate these achievements with these students. Students, you are welcome to stay for what is going to be a very long council and board meeting, or you are welcome to exit. So thank y'all for being here tonight.
Thank y'all for being here. Great job. Really proud of you.
If you guys stay, you'll learn something about government.
That was great. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, ma'am. You know, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that Councilman Gautier has two daughters of state champion, 24 and 26. Great job. Yeah.
She did a great job.
I told John, I go, you and your sis, good job. Okay. Thank y'all. Kelly, that was great. Yeah. We'll start. Any citizen or parent comments? I don't have any notes. We'll move on. Mr. Sasser, items of community interest. How you doing, John? Well, it's cleared out. It's kind of lonely now, isn't it?
Yeah. They heard I was coming up and they scattered. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and hello, everybody. We have a very, very busy spring ahead, so this could take a little longer, but I promise you it's all great news here. Let's start off with tomorrow, an event happening, the Alliance Development Forum. That's going to be going on from 11 to 1 at the Cambria Hotel and Conference Center in North Lake. I know a couple of you guys are going, so if you have any questions about that, let me know. But that's going to be a lot of fun where Westlake and the other cities within the chamber can show off all the exciting development situations and projects that are going on around Westlake. So again, that's from 11 to 1. Our town hall and municipal court are going to be closed to observe Good Friday. Traditionally, that would be on Friday, but we're going to be closed on April 6th, which is a Monday. Planning and zoning meeting as of now, it's tentatively scheduled for April 7th. If that is changed, we'll let everybody know through our website and social media. Our next town council meeting is going to be on Tuesday, April 21st. And then we're really excited. I almost wish the folks would have stayed to hear this, because I think it would probably be more impactful for them than it would be for a lot of folks in here. But we have a spring concert coming up on the 23rd, starting at about 5:30 are the festivities. It's going to be a Sabrina Carpenter tribute singer. Does that mean anything to anybody?
Yes, it does.
Good. Good. I think it's going to mean a lot of people to the folks here as well. Last year when we had the Taylor Swift impersonator,
which was a huge turnout,
we had about 750 people, and she's pretty popular as well. So she's going to be singing all the great songs that all the kids who were here just a few minutes ago absolutely love. So that's going to be, again, on April 23rd, starting at about 5:30, right out here behind Town Hall. Then we have, of course, something equally as important as a Sabrina Carpenter tribute, Election Day. That's going to be on Saturday, May 2nd. The great news this year is we have a Westlake polling place at our fire and EMS station, so any Westlake residents who would like to vote no longer have to go to Southlake or Keller or surrounding areas. They can go right down the street, a couple of minute drive, and vote. So we encourage everybody to do that, of course.
And Wade?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
April 20th through 28th.
28th, yep.
And Election Day is Saturday, May 2nd. But Wade, you and your staff, thank you for getting that going. At Diana, of course, thank you for getting that going. It's a great thing for our residents.
Yeah, indeed. And then our big spring cleanup event is going to happen on that same day, but luckily it's going to be, so you can knock out a couple of big things if you want to go vote at the fire station and then come right over here in the parking lot behind Town Hall. That's going to be from 9 to 12. If you guys recall, a few months ago, we did a survey to our Westlake residents asking various questions, one of which they would prefer our cleanup to be in the fall or the spring, and they voted unanimously for the spring. So we listened, and here we go. So this should be a big event and a lot going on May 2nd here in Westlake. National Day of Prayer is going to be on Thursday, May 7th. That's at noon at the church at Trophy Lakes and Trophy Club. I believe you guys got an invite for that as well.
We are. All the mayors, the surrounding mayors will be there to celebrate.
Absolutely, right across the street here. And then it's time for our second spring concert. That's going to be on May 7th. That's a Thursday again. Festivities starting around 5:30 right out here, and it's going to be Texas Born and Bred. They sing a variety of country and actually a lot of different stuff. So they come highly recommended. So we're excited to have them. That's going to be the first time they've showed up in Westlake. So that should be really cool. And then finally, our fire station open house is going to be on Saturday, May 9th from 10 to 2 p.m. Of course, that's at the fire station. Chief Art and the entire crew do a phenomenal job. That has really become one of our big events and highlights of the year. That's a lot of fun. Keller Police takes part as well. We really appreciate all of you guys there. So mark your calendar for May 9th, Saturday from 10 to 2 at the fire station. Some really quick bullet points here, additional notes. Our annual report, which is our recap of our 2025 year here in Westlake from all the departments and all the things that you as a council have accomplished and all of the departments as well. That is going to be officially released in everybody's physical mailboxes, all the Westlake residents, here within, I'd say, the next 7 to 10 days. So be on the lookout for that for our Westlake annual report. The election canvas is going to be on May 12th. Our Westlake Academy Senior Banquet will be on May 20th at the Bowden and Keller. Our Westlake Academy graduation will be on May 23rd. That, of course, is at Hearst Conference Center. And finally, last but not least, we have some great news about the Westlake Academy Foundation Gala. A quick recap of that, where families and sponsors and supporters contributed close to $500,000 to benefit the Westlake Academy teachers and students.
Yes.
Some of the highlights there include Westlake Academy Modern Sport Court, which fully funded at $150,000 to create a dynamic new space for recreation, athletics, and community connection. Also, teacher gift and gift card initiative up to $120,000 to give $1,100 in gift cards to every Westlake Academy teacher and staff member so that they can purchase much needed classroom and workstation essentials without dipping into their own pockets, which is phenomenal. And then finally, the teacher grant fund, which is up to $75,000 available to support innovative programs, cutting-edge resources, and professional development experiences. So congratulations to Dr. Shelley Myers, Julie Kelly, and the entire Westlake Academy Foundation for a job well done.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a wonderful event. And I just want to, I know everybody knows this, but I feel the momentum of the town and the school. We had a record-breaking blacksmith fund this year that we asked them and then they raised. We had a record-breaking gala. It's just the momentum is there, and we need to keep marching forward. But I can't thank the board enough for everything they've done, and Kelly, you and your team, and Wade, you and your team for everything we're doing to kind of get the people really getting involved in the community. So thank you. Couple quick things. Chief Ard. Young Men's Service League, you let them have a meeting a couple weeks ago at the fire station. So we had our trash cleanup Sunday, and I talked to a couple of the moms there, and they were so impressed with the fire station and y'all's hospitality, for the meeting. And then Kelly, a couple of moms just told me like how nice the Westlake Academy young men are. I feel like a proud parent, right? It's just, but really good. But Chief, thanks for letting them do that. That's a big deal. I didn't leave a note on him. No, thank you for that. John, anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now go into presentations. We've got Dr. Rich taken care of. We now have Chief Fortune presentation of the annual report for the Keller Police Department relative to police services and the racial profiling report for the town of Westlake. Chief, how are you?
I'm doing outstanding,
Good to see
Mr.
you.
Mayor. How are you, sir?
Excellent.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you guys for letting me come, and I enjoy this every year, coming and kind of sharing about what we did last year in 2025 and a couple things about where we're going to be going in the future as well. I understand this is a larger agenda, so I'm going to be going kind of rapid speed. There's a lot of information in these slides. There's a lot of information in the annual reports. I invite any of you at any time to reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer questions, go into further detail on any of the topics. A lot of this is on this PowerPoint so that citizens who are watching later, they have this information just because I don't say it up here. That's provided. And again, please reach out to me with any questions. So the first couple slides are just new statement of purpose and values that we did after a retreat last year that just indicates who we are at this point in time. Like I said, we did this last year. We also included what we think are ideal customer experiences if you interact with us, as well as employee experiences if you are employed with us. And again, this was something that was developed by supervisors and several line-level employees at this retreat. So we have the performance measures, we have the values, we have the mission statement, but we have performance measures to determine are we accomplishing that mission and the values. Performance measures, what we think are important to anyone when they look at the success of a police department: crime rate, traffic safety, timely service, and quality of service. Moving into crime rate. First thing is crime rate is these different offenses that are listed here are defined by the FBI, and jurisdictions around the country report out based on the definition assigned by the FBI's because states have different definitions for these various offenses. So in Westlake, this 2025, we had 34 Part 1 crimes. We're going to break that down here in just a second. But how we compare to other jurisdictions, regardless of size, is we determine how many of those Part 1 crimes per population per 1,000. And so last year, y'all were at 1.48 of a crime rate. That is a 30% decrease from 2024 and a 5% decrease from 2023. Now, this is just a depiction going over the past 10 years, how we've looked from the crime rate. So we've kind of stayed around a very, very, very successful crime rate. So we're going to compare to some cities here. So Dallas, we're going to start and pick on them. 36.68. You see their Part 1 crimes and the population. So we're going to move down Fort Worth, Arlington, Plano, Roanoke, Prosper, Southlake, Keller, Colleyville. We're getting there. Trophy Club, and then finally West. So it's outstanding, outstanding.
Outstanding.
Hey, Chief, can I ask you a question on that?
Please.
So the Part 1 crime rate, that's based on per 1,000, including daytime population. How many of those crimes were actually associated with the daytime population as opposed to the 1,800 Westlake residents?
So I don't have that data with me, but I can absolutely get that for you.
Yeah, because I mean, those are more serious crimes. Obviously, if there's if the majority of them are happening in the corporate campuses where that daytime population exists, that's one thing. If the majority of those are happening, off those campuses, then 34 out of 1,800 is a much, much higher ratio.
So if you look on this slide, sir, 25 of those 34 are larceny thefts. And those are primarily, as you see, under larceny theft, their unsecured vehicles is the number one culprit for most of our larceny theft.
How many years
crimes.
have you told us that?
Every year, sir. And so there's a crime prevention slogan of hide, lock, take. If people would hide the items, if they're going to leave them in their car, at least lock the car, and at the best, take them out of the car. If we could get people from taking those items out of their vehicles, eliminate those kind of larceny thefts from unsecured vehicles, you would cut your crime almost to nothing. A lot of those aggravated assaults are domestics. None of them are stranger on stranger. They're known offenders. So crime rate is excellent here. But I can get you that specific fact, sir. Just to finish up this slide, DWI arrests, we had 52 this year, down 13% from 60 last year, and 3 of those were Westlake residents. Narcotic arrests, 36, up 6% from 34 last year. We've already discussed the larceny thefts. The construction sites and CVS are also culprits. And then we also talked about the 31 of the 34 are property crimes. So moving on to traffic safety, we had a 12% decrease in reportable crashes from 24 to 25 down to 115. We did go up 1 in fatality crashes, unfortunately. And then you have the top 3 factors for intersection crashes as well as the top 3 locations for the crashes. So this is a slide that I'm really proud of. So our NetCom dispatch center is a regional dispatch center, and their goal to answer 911 when people call is less than 10 seconds. They achieve that 99.36% of the time. From the time they answer 911 to determine what appropriate service, whether it's fire, EMS, or PD. For the police, they have a goal of less than 90 seconds. They accomplish that in 99.10. For the fire department and EMS, their goal is less than 60 seconds. They accomplish that in 98.8. So their average dispatch time is 31 seconds. For the police department, for a priority 1 call, we have a goal of from the time that we answer 911 call, we decide what service you want, they dispatch the officers, and they arrive to your house, and that's in less than 5 minutes is our goal. We achieved that this last year with 4 minutes and 17 seconds on average. The drive time from the moment dispatched the officer to they arrived on scene was 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Those are for priority 1 calls. For all other calls, when parents call because their 9-year-old won't go to bed, including all those type of calls, we have a goal of less than 9 minutes. When I got here 6 years ago, that was 15 minutes. We every year have challenged ourselves to become better, even for the lower priority calls, to less than 9 minutes. In this last year, we were 9 minutes and 4 seconds. So I think that's an excellent measure of our service. Okay, quality service. We measure this. We check all the perception of everyone of the police department when we do the annual town surveys, or not the annual, but the incremental town surveys. And so when we do another one in Westlake, we will include that information here. But what we have started to do is this tool that is coming through certain call type, the complainant's text messages. It's like we go to the dentist, we go to the doctor's office, we get text messages to gauge how we're doing. We have identified certain calls for service that survey complainants from dispatch and officers, and so we are constantly evaluating on a weekly basis how we're doing. And so that's a way to maintain the service year-round, not wait for a survey. And that hits the exact users of our product. For our staffing purposes, this is what we're authorized. If you'll see there, we have 55 budgeted sworn officers. What the town manager or the city manager of Keller recently authorized was 4 overhire positions. What we realize is once someone is hired to the time they go to the academy, mini-academy, then field training, it takes almost a year before they're out of training and able to be counted on the streets. So until they're out of training, they're not counted as being able to help us. So they authorize 4 overhire positions. So once we realize someone's leaving, we can get that process started without going into our budgeted position. And so we have 55 budgeted, we have 59 authorized. Total staff is 98, including our professional staff. Demographics are there. Sorry? Yes, sir.
How many of them, how many open positions?
Right now,
How many
zero.
open? Yeah.
Zero.
Zero open positions.
Zero. Right now, we had some staffing challenges last year, but we have, I think, 6 in field training right now. We have 3 in the academy and a couple about to start the academy. So we have hired, we're full, including the 4 overhire positions.
Hey, Chief, do you guys hire to reserves for backfill?
Yes, absolutely. That's what really helped us this last year. We got a Richardson officer, actually 16 years, Portland, Oregon. He got with us. We got a Euless officer, and then we actually have one that left us to go to Fort Worth, and then found it wasn't greener on the other side and came back to us.
That's
and is now
always
with
good.
us. So,
That's a good statement.
So life is good there. So we are full, sir. Thank you for that question. Demographics here shows the service based on city data, what the demographic breakdown is in Westlake compared to the breakdown of our department between male and female officers, as well as different races. Again, these are a lot of stats here I'm going to provide to you, and those looking online, just some overall numbers of how many calls for service from dispatch, how many inmates we went to the jail, animal control calls, open records requests, etc. And as you well know, we have 100% funded by Westlake SRO. I think that has been a huge success. So one thing I want to highlight is that not only are we a state accredited agency through the Texas Police Chiefs Association, we are also a national accredited agency through CALEA. I say that because this week CALEA is in our building doing the every 4-year on-site assessment, and we are doing a very, very good job of that. We've been with them several times, but that's something that we were one of the first agencies in the state of Texas to be both nationally and state accredited. That's a big deal. So I just wanted to highlight that for you. Other thing is regional partnerships. We've already talked about the regional NetCom partnership, but we also, with NetCom, we are a part of a radio consortium called NetCo. You see that's with Bedford, Euless, Grapevine, Colleyville, Southlake. That's a regional interoperable radio system through COG that gives us redundancy and robust backup efforts. And the best part is Westlake is under the umbrella of Keller in there, so we are only paying 1/6 of that total cost for that huge radio system, which is a big deal. We have the combined jail services. We have North Tarrant Regional SWAT Team, Regional Crash Team, Animal Control, and obviously full police services for the town of Westlake. We have already provided you guys with a racial profiling report, and this slide is a lot of words, but that's just directly from the report. It shows the summary of our success there. We were fully in compliance. Just a real recap for people that weren't aware, we started our relationship back in June of 2002. This is our 4th renewal that we are currently in that expires in 2028. Right now, our general fund for the police department, our operating budget is $13.1 million. The current police services agreement with Westlake is $1.3 million, with 15,900 calls for service. The cost per call for service was $82.72, compared to the city of Keller is $125.92. So one thing I want to make sure that everyone realizes is that we also have a crime control and prevention district in Keller. That's 1/4% of every sales tax that's paid for in the city of Keller goes straight to this fund. So through that fund, we spent this amount of money for each of these topics, and I've listed this last budget year the different items that we have purchased using these funds. That comes nothing out of the operating budget that y'all's service agreement comes out of. That total was $2.2 million. The Westlake cost share for those, y'all pay a portion of the accreditation manager. You pay a portion of vehicles as well as the debt for our capital on the building. So your total was $81,977 of the $2.2 million. Preparing for the future, I've already mentioned the 4 overhires that we already have in place. That's not coming, that's existing. Myself and Deputy Chief Ryan Coe attended a course this last summer about staffing and workload analysis. We are in the process of creating that to get an updated current staffing analysis. I have completed a design of adding a 6th district, which I'm going to show you here in a second. That is a redesign of all of our districts, but adding and preparing for the future growth of Westlake specifically. And through that, we're also going to be looking at revising our current contract to account for manpower staffing adjustments to what's coming in Westlake. And then finally, I have a slide on here, a couple slides of the various community services that we've already communicated with the different HOAs in Westlake. that we provide to your citizens. This is the slide on your left is what we currently are at. If you look at this, I know it's hard to see a lot of the roadways, but 1 and 5 are the ones that cover Westlake. Westlake is that northern portion, and you see the southern boundary is Johnson Road. That's a lot of territory, okay? And so, which is more why I'm so impressed that we have the response times we have, but we can be better. So if you look at the design on the right, that's what we have come up with. The thing I like about this is District 6 is 100% in Westlake. The other benefit of that is District 5, the northern border of District 5 on the northeast is the southern border of Westlake. It borders Westlake. And then District 1, that southern border is further north in Westlake, which means District 2 is still within response time that the current District 1 and 5 are barely at, if y'all are tracking. So we have 4 different officers that have that are now more accountable to Westlake than what we currently have. And that's what we are looking at with the different staffing increases, with the growth of Westlake. That's what we're looking at going. Again, this is a flyer that's been going around where we've had several successes, women's self-defense courses in Keller, at our Keller Point, and now we're glad to be able to expand that with the partnership of Lifetime Fitness here in Westlake.
Thank y'all for doing that. It's a
Absolutely.
big deal.
We're looking.
That's right.
That's right. Making an impact.
Yeah, he mentioned that to me the other night I ran into, but I'm so glad you're doing that. John Halper that runs Lifetime's a great guy, but again, just sense of community.
Yep, we're trying to expand to that point. And these slides are simply topics and discussions of courses that we provide, informational conversations that we can come out to the HOAs, different businesses, and whether it's our community services officer or various detectives, whoever the subject matter expert is in these parts, we can bring them out to come and talk about these, or just general Q&A sessions, general topics that they have concerns about for their communities. We can come out there and have those discussions. But like I said, we've already reached out to all the HOAs in Westlake, and we're just working on scheduling now. There we go. I'm sorry.
Wow, that's a personal record. Chief, we got the World Cup coming up. What involvement you guys? Are you playing backup if something happens?
So we're not officially a part of that. So no, we are not officially a backup of anything. Okay. We have been going to the various informational meetings with the FBI, DHS. We're continuously being updated. It is a very slow planned event.
Yes.
I hear. Yeah, it's very different than if you remember the Super Bowl a while back. Different planning, but we are aware of what's going on. We know where the different planning sites are. You know, when they make the final addition of these final 6 teams to enter the Cup, we'll then be able to determine if because they have certain identified sites where their camp would be. Yeah. They have to then select that camp. So we know where possible camps are if they're selected. They don't have to pick any of them. So it all depends on who makes it and then where they go. But for the majority of it, we're not going to be impacted other than, obviously, the traffic. Now, there is one planned site by Texas Motor Speedway if that's selected, but it hasn't as of yet. Okay. So as of right now, we are informed, we're ready, we're prepared to provide resources if needed. Otherwise, we're holding.
Thank you.
Chief, quick follow-up question on that. Are we
Yes, sir.
expecting residents to be renting out their houses, their apartments, et cetera? Are we expecting a lot of what's the plan, or is there any expectation that we're going to have a lot of folks from out of town who are going to be staying in our towns because people are going to try and, understandably make some money?
It's going to happen. There hasn't been any estimate of numbers per jurisdiction or anything. We just know it's going to be an increase, and it's a wait and see. Again, there's
a lot of HOA rules that prevent short-term rentals also. Yeah.
And TJ, there's a couple of government things that I just haven't been on yet that they're talking about all this, but I think to the chiefs, it's a little early. It's coming up, but they're slow planning.
And it's like they're cramming for an exam at the very last minute.
Yeah.
Hate to say it.
Yeah.
Chief, those slides were great.
Yes, sir.
Don't remember them being distributed. You got the reports. Were the slides in there? Those? They were in there? Okay.
If you don't get them, sir, I can hand them to you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chief, one thing we've never really talked about, what is your pay on your officers? I know you had some attrition issues. Was it pay related or was it?
I'm glad you asked, sir. There's been a lot of discussion. Last year was a challenge for us staffing-wise, and that happens with any business. Some employees are going to do what they're going to do. But I want to give this to you real quick. Last year, We had one officer who unfortunately committed suicide. Then we had 10 officers that resigned. Okay, but if I want to break down these 10, 2 relocated out of the area, out of the Metroplex for family or friends. 2 resigned in lieu of termination for not successfully completing our FTO program. 2 resigned due to the requirement of rotating out of a specialized position. Even though they entered a specialized position knowing it was a limited tenure, they didn't want to get off their motorcycles, so they found smaller towns that would allow them full-time to be motors. And we have too many officers that deserve opportunities. That's why they come to Keller. There's different specialized positions. We have to afford them those opportunities.
Okay.
So I didn't change the policy. They didn't like it. They left. Okay. 2 resigned to join a larger area in the Metroplex. 1 resigned to return to teaching for KISD. He was a teacher before. Became a cop. He actually got an award here because he did the CPR out on Dove Road.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Philip Davis. Great guy, but he decided his heart was with teaching, so he left and went back to KISD.
Good for him.
And then finally, 1 resigned in lieu of termination for an IA investigation. So there's never one reason. There's 2 that left to other areas, other agencies in the Metroplex, pay-related, probably. Also, there were larger agencies that offered more specialized positions that we just can't offer.
Sure.
So to your point, I just had a meeting with the City of Keller city manager, and they are looking at, from a comparison, you have various benchmark cities. The mayor of Keller likes to look at all of Tarrant County, not just specific identified benchmarks, but the big and the small of all Tarrant County. That's what he asked us to do. From the starting pay, currently, we are exactly at midpoint of the starting pay for all agencies in Tarrant County. Okay? That's where we're at. We're about 50%. Now, I will say that the last 3 years, they had a concerted effort. We had a large step plan, and they had made a commitment to the association that every year they were going to reduce the steps down to 9 total. We've gotten to 10 last year. We have 1 more to go to get to 9. And then, so 3 years ago and then 2 years ago, we got a 7.75% raise both years. Last year, we got a 7.75% raise for line level to increase that, to attract the line level. So it's one of those things you have to be sustainable, and you have to find that balance. So that's where we're at right now.
So you feel, if I'm understanding, you feel okay about your pay. I don't know that I agree with your mayor and he's a good friend about all of Tarrant County. I think you look a little...
There's differing opinions.
I'm sure there are. You might ask him, I ask, would you look locally, like with the 4 or 5 surrounding towns? Yes,
sir.
Any questions? That's why you look, yeah. Any questions?
Good report.
Thank you,
Chief. Great job. And I got to tell you, we're a small town, right? It's hard to believe we're in this big metroplex, but Westlake is such a small community. We had attempted burglary. I think it was last year. Your guys were there like that, and I think they stayed with the homeowner. I think her husband was out for like 2 hours just to calm her down. I can't thank y'all enough.
And let me just say this one last thing. We have an in-service every year where we bring all of our officers over the course of 4 weeks. We give them the same training for all the state and mandated training required. And this was my opportunity to make sure that everyone down to the line level understood the growth that's coming in Westlake. And the excitement that they all feel with what's coming, and the fact that we did have resignation. Sometimes turnover is not a bad thing.
No, I agree.
And sometimes you get fresh culture, and they see the benefit of these things, and that new motivation. What's coming is a very positive thing.
We got a lot of cool things coming up. Some
Yes,
are
sir.
going to be announced here.
And I don't know if enough of the residents say it, but man, we really appreciate you guys
Yes.
every day putting your lives on the line for us. It means a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Seriously.
Just tell people to lock their cars and we'll be good.
Then I wouldn't have a report to you, sir. Thank y'all.
Chief, thank you very much. And next on the agenda, E3, update from Texas Student Housing. Tracy Haro, Texas Student Housing Authority. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. It's been a while.
For having me. Welcome. We just advanced our Texas. A little bit of background. I was appointed to be a board member in 2013 by Mayor Wheat, and I served on the board for 2 years for Tisha, her nickname for it. And in 2015, the executive director resigned over his job in 2015. So I've been 11 years as executive director. A little bit about us. Our history goes back to 1995. Right under that higher education Act. It allows for tax exemption for the facilities. We at one point owned 6 facilities. We're now down to just 2 left. Cambridge Hall is located in College Station, and the Ridge at North Texas is in Denton. These are the 2 facilities we are offering our housing to for high school students and college students. To date, Tisha has contributed $950,000 scholarships awarded since 2015. Westlake Academy students, 125, at the value of $846,000. There were several that were awarded before 2015, but 2015 was the year that I took over, and it's the year Westlake students we have.
Excellent.
And then the scholarships are incremental. $2,500 a year is generally what they are worth. That's the Ridge, and then the Cambridge Hall is a little bit higher, about $3,500. They're usually they're usually awarded for up to 4 years as long as you're a full-time student and you keep your GPA 3.0 or greater. Every Westlake Academy student that applies for a scholarship, they get a full housing scholarship. So if they're living at the Ridge, that scholarship is awarded about $6,900, so it pays for all of their rent at the Ridge. And then if they stay at Cambridge Hall, it's around $9,000. That includes their meals as well. So it's a full ride for Westlake students. And currently, right now, I'm still accepting scholarships for the fall 26 and spring 27, and the deadline to apply is April 1st. Here's this past year. This is fall of 25, spring of 26. Cambridge Hall, I awarded 72 scholarships, and of those 72, 3 of them are Westlake students. And the Ridge at North Texas, I awarded 15 scholarships. 1 is a Westlake student. Total of 87 that was awarded this past year, value of $302,000. That's the value of the rent.
Are those other kids within Westlake, they didn't go to the academy, or are they from around surrounding?
There are other areas.
Other areas.
Other areas throughout Texas.
Okay.
We have a board consists of 6 members. And we have an open position, which I think you're going to be voting on that tonight. We have a nominee being considered. Many of you know Scott Bradley. He has been our president ever since I've been executive director. And there's the other names of the other board members. And they've been with me 2 or 3, 4 or 5 years. Here's a picture of Cambridge Hall at College Station. 198 units, 530 beds are there. It was completely renovated in 24. It's actually a gated community. It includes 2 pools, a movie theater, dining hall, fitness, yoga, study lounge, and game room. Fully furnished dorm rooms, state-of-the-art for the students. There's the website there. Next slide's got some of the photos of all the renovations that were done. It's really, really a nice facility. And that's the cafeteria on the top left. So it's got its own cafeteria there, so the students that live there have a meal plan.
Looks just like our dorms, doesn't it?
Yeah. This is the Ridge at North Texas. This is our facility in Denton. It's 288 units, 876 beds. Occupancy right now stands at 95%. We're still exploring refinancing of the senior debt, renovate the remainder of the property. The property is 6 years old, so it does need some TLC. We have a newly constructed concrete wall that runs along I-35. I don't know if you recall that TxDOT took 2 of our parcels during the eminent domain for the I-35 expansion. We just had that wall actually last week. All the units are fully furnished, and we're on the UNT shuttle route. The school bus is shuttle bus is right out front. We have an upgraded fitness center. We have a resort-style pool, hot tub. There's the website there for the Ridge. Photo of the new fitness center on the upper left. There's our pool, hot tub, and down the bottom of the new units that have been renovated. We renovated building 13 and building 6. So we still have 16 more buildings to go. And we'll look at possibly refinancing that debt. I think a lot will depend on what happens with the Fed chair. So if interest rates come down, it'd probably be a good time for us to refinance the bonds. Questions?
Any questions?
I've said this before. This is like a known jewel.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Really is, and I always worry about. I mean, I asked Kelly last year. I went to the years all run together, but I think it was last year. I came to one of your board members and meetings, and I just like, do our kids know about it? Do we advertise enough? I think I wrote an article in Stroll magazine talking about everything that you've done for our kids. But that's the only thing I worry about, is it known? But I do know through the relationships I have with some of the kids that they've used it, especially at Texas A&M. So, and it's a great deal.
I think your senior counselor has been very proactive on that.
Yeah, good. That's great to hear. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for being here. Good seeing you. The next, boards and commissions. Next is considering appointing Ms. Catherine Keir. Am I saying that right? Here to vacancy on the Texas Student Housing Authority Board. Ms. Keir, are you present? Hi, how are you? Please come forward and introduce yourself, and we'll see if the town has any questions. Are you local? Oh, perfect.
So I'm Catherine Kerr, and I live in Grapevine, Texas, and I'm looking to just get more involved in my community, and thought this would be a great opportunity since I have such a passion for helping young students.
Excellent. We appreciate that. Any questions?
I looked at the application you made. I'm curious about, you said, have related experience as a leader of a team of recent college graduates. I was wondering what it was that you did with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with a very young professional team at Gartner, and we're CSEs, Conference Sales Executives. So they're all very recently out of college, and I lead them and manage them to sell Gartner conferences. But there's a lot of nuances and things that go with working with young professionals, but I truly have a passion for that age range.
That's excellent.
And of course, they've benefited from scholarships just like this, of course.
That's great. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations. Appreciate you being on the board.
Mayor Graves,
Yeah.
can we say what the motion was?
Oh, consider appointing Ms. Catherine Keir as vacancy on the Texas Student Housing Board.
So moved.
Can I get a second? Second. I got corrected. I try to get through a meeting with that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Diana. Okay, next we'll hold a work session on several topics for discussion. No action will be taken. Town council will receive information from staff. Discussion will be held, and staff may receive direction from the council at any time. Mr. Carroll, how are you, sir? Thank you all for coming. Good seeing you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is kind of our first work session as we warm up for the budget season. So a lot of the things that you're going to see in this work session are some information that we will need to capture as we roll into creating our first draft of the budget. One of the big things that we want to tackle right off the bat is a problem that we've identified and has been brought to council's attentions in previous meetings and in several emails from me. But we have a bit of a problem with turnover ourselves in the fire department. And a bigger problem for that is the number of applicants that we're receiving for the fire department is incredibly low. So we're having some difficulty recruiting good people here to Westlake, and then a hard time keeping those folks here as well. I'm going to bring Chief Arda up to talk about some solutions that we've worked on together and to kind of give an overview of the issue. You guys all received this presentation in the packet, so feel free to hit him with questions as we go through. And then Ms. Sandy Garza is going to come up from HR and talk about her portion of this as well, where we've gone out and done a salary survey to understand what our area cities are doing, what our comparison cities are doing. I can speak a little bit more about the comparison cities and why we chose the ones we chose, right? There's 9 comparison cities for us, and we chose those 2 years ago when we did our last salary survey when I first got on board. We wanted to make sure that we were really looking at cities that we compete against for firefighters, so the people in this general area and for other employees, not just firefighters. But we also wanted to look at demographics as well. So we looked a lot at income per capita, because we understand that with a high income per capita number comes a high level of expectation. And when we go in the several fire departments that I've worked for in the past, that was readily seen. And when you talk to fire chiefs in other areas, you see just the opposite, right? In lower income areas, they just want you to show up. And I think in the higher income areas, there's a high expectation that we are data driven and that we are ensuring that we're getting the best firefighters on scene and they have the best actions on scene. So with that, I'm going to ask Chief Ard to come up and go through the presentation.
Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you about fire department compensation. Before I get really into, or we get into the compensation portion of the presentation, just wanted to really give you some of the background about where we are and why we are where we are. So with that, basically trying to share with you, and some of this came from our annual report, we're a small department. We have 21 folks in our department, 3 in administration, and we have 3 captains, 3 driver engineers, and then 12 firefighter paramedic positions. Some of our current workforce challenges include 2 firefighter paramedic vacancies in red, those red boxes. And then we have one firefighter EMT currently attending paramedic school in yellow. He will graduate in June and then complete 2 months of field training once he returns back to the department before he's considered fully operational, functional. We also have 2 firefighter positions in orange, in the orange boxes, who will need to attend paramedic school. And we'll talk more about that in the coming slides and what that takes in terms of training. Also wanted to point out that we are in our 3rd hiring process to find firefighter paramedics to fill current open positions. Unfortunately, we've had very few applicants, as Wade mentioned. Very few applicants have actually applied, and then of those that have applied did not pass the written or physical requirements. Some of this you also saw in the 2025 annual report. Since 2019, we've hired and trained 19 personnel. Like I mentioned earlier, we're only 18 persons deep in operations, so it's been quite a bit of turnover for us. I like to call it's kind of a wave effect. In a small organization, it's not a ripple when you lose a couple people, it's a wave. It creates lots of challenges. As you can see from that previous slide, we're again a small organization. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of trained personnel. What we do know is the ongoing cycle of hiring and losing trained personnel impacts our financial stability and our operational readiness.
Chief, just real quick, do we do exit surveys, Sandy? Do we exit surveys on these? And do we know why they're leaving? Is it?
I can speak to some of that. I didn't receive the actual exit interviews, but they do talk to me before they leave. They're going to competitively paid cities. And I'll give you some of the named cities. Some of them is Louisville Fire Department, or City of Louisville, Flower Mound, Denton County ESD, Royce City, Pilot Point. We've got a lot of cities that are moving to. Most folks we lose are resignations or firing. We're losing them because they're going to higher paid organizations.
Okay, and so let me ask you this. When someone comes in and we train them, do we pay for that training?
We do.
Do we have a hook in them that they have to stay a certain amount of time?
We do not.
Yeah, that's bad. We need to figure that out somehow. Right, we can't make all that investment and then they get trained and leave for more money.
Sure.
So I would ask you, that's one thing.
Thank you. As we get into, or before we get into the compensation analysis, I really want to important recognize the fire department has a strong culture with high professional standards. The department maintains rigorous hiring expectations, strong leadership, and commitment to training and professional development, all of which support safe and reliable emergency response to this community. However, the fire service labor market in North Texas is extremely competitive, particularly in firefighter paramedics. Many comparable departments position their compensation structures between the 80th and 85th percentile of the regional market in order to attract and retain qualified personnel. Currently, Westlake compensation levels fall below that competitive range, which contributes to the recruitment and retention challenges we've discussed already. The next several slides provide additional context around this issue, including timeline required to hire and train personnel, the cost of replacing firefighters, and the department's recruitment and retention strategy before reviewing how the Westlake's compensation compares to the regional market. What I'm trying to share with you in this slide is the hiring process is similar for both hiring firefighter EMTs and firefighter paramedics. And it takes approximately 3 months if we can hire them within that 3-month period. The critical difference lies in the post-hire training and time to full operational readiness. In the ideal situation, we'd want to hire a firefighter paramedic, fully credentialed person. But even doing so would still require, beyond the 3-month period, a 4-week probation, which is our onboarding process, paramedic field training, about 2 months long, which really equates to about 6 months long that it took to get that person on board and be fully functional. If we hire a firefighter EMT, after the hire process, they still have to complete a boot camp. They still have to complete a 9-month paramedic school program, and then the paramedic field training, which is another 2 months. That total time to deployment now as a fully functional member in the department is now 15 months. And that's if we were able to hire them in the first process, which often doesn't happen, because we're not recruiting many folks. And that's been one of our challenges. And then also just trying to talk more about that, the cost of replacing firefighters is very expensive. The department, we estimate, has spent over $3 million since 2019 for hiring and replacing firefighters. When a firefighter leaves the organization, the department must maintain minimum staffing levels to ensure emergency response capability. This creates several unavoidable costs. One of the main ones, large cost drivers, overtime to maintain minimum staffing. Fire stations, as you know, are operated 24/7. When a position becomes vacant, the department must fill that shift with overtime until a replacement is hired and trained. This typically is the largest cost driver, as I just mentioned. Overtime continues during this recruitment, hiring, background checks, field training. And in many cases, this can last several months, as I just mentioned, and results in thousands of dollars in overtime. Pardon me. Other costs include hiring recruitment costs, the job advertising, the background investigations, the psychological evaluations, the medical exam, the drug testing, administrative processing and onboarding. Then the training, like we were mentioning in the slide as well, they have to go through the field training boot camp, the department orientation boot camp, and then also our field training for the paramedic internship. And then last is really equipment and uniforms. So we have to issue them bunker gear. We also issue them uniforms, so there's a lot of hard costs that's actually given them. What we found is that replacement costs for a firefighter paramedic at the lowest levels are right around $73,000. Firefighter EMTs is $196,000. That variation depends on multiple factors: the length of the vacancy, the amount of overtime required to backfill that spot, and then training time required before the position is fully functional. The costs are significantly higher when we hire firefighter EMTs, but that's what we've been required to do because we weren't able to find credentialed folks with fully firefighter paramedic. The key takeaway I'm trying to get you to have is employee turnover in the fire service is not just a staffing issue or concern. It's a significant financial issue. Each departure requires the city to absorb substantial overtime, and hiring costs simply maintain the level of service. What we're hoping is we can have investment in competitive compensation and retention strategies that significantly reduce the replacement cost while maintaining stability within the department. What we're trying to do in our department, and my promise to you, is that we're going to hold the standard. We're going to maintain focus on character and accountability. We're going to strengthen and maintain our culture for a positive environment that empowers growth and development. And we also want to prioritize professional development. We want to ensure all personnel receive the training and education needed to serve this community effectively. Basically, what we're asking at this point is that you help us with adopting a competitive pay plan that has predictable salary progression. And with that, I'll pause right here and try to answer any questions you may have before kind of transition the slides.
Oh, I think you know the answer to this. You're not getting many applicants because our pay scale's low.
I'm sorry?
We're not getting many applicants because of our pay scale.
That's what we believe.
Pay scale. That's what
Yes.
you believe. Yeah.
That's correct. Our stopgap has been hiring less credentialed folks, firefighter EMTs, and sending them to school. And we did that to maintain minimum staffing and so as not to reduce service demands or levels. But unfortunately, it's been very expensive for us to do that. And then once we've trained them, they've left somewhere else. I would mention, it was brought to my attention about having some kind of retention requirements if we've trained them. Some of our industry tries that, but it's typically not real successful. When somebody doesn't want to be there, they're not as productive. And that's another challenge we have, but I'm still open to it. But it's a double-edged sword, if you will.
Yeah, I would a lot of companies have this dilemma, right? They hire somebody and they invest in you, and you either have to stay till a certain term or you have to pay back some of the costs they invested in you. And I don't know what's traditional in fire departments, but I hate to think that we're the training ground and people come in and get trained and then they leave. But I think this is, not to jump ahead, this is a pretty clear solvable problem. We need, what I'd love to see, you change the salary and see how many applicants you get tomorrow.
That'd be wonderful.
That would be the acid test if we're right or not. But we have to get this fixed.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Chief, if my math correct, so it's 21 people that we lost from 2019 till now.
Yes, sir.
Do we know how many of them left specifically for pay increases?
I would say the majority. I can't say with certainty right now. There might be a few that have for pay and opportunity, something that maybe we can't offer because we're a small community and not having a lot of divisions. But I would say a vast majority wanted to be here for a reason because they did like the small town feel and they didn't want to be a number. I wanted to know their family and vice versa. So I think there's been a pretty clear awareness to what we are, and we weren't trying to fabricate that in any way. We're a small community with a small fire department that's going to serve the best we can. But some need more. They're growing families. These are young men that they're talented. I think we've hired talented people, but they're growing and they're wanting a new opportunity.
Do you find that when one leaves, another one goes with them?
Yes.
These guys spend a lot of time together, right?
It's been happening cyclically, too. Just a couple of years ago, we lost 3, and it's just boom, boom, boom. And
well, we know it's not culture or work conditions, right?
What we've learned, and also I've learned, just to basically digress a little bit, is a lot of these folks that we've lost, certainly in recent time, are still some of our best friends. If our firefighters were sitting in here right now, they would tell you that. They're still hanging out with those same folks. So one of my neighbors is a firefighter that left here and went to Louisville. He hangs out with our folks a lot, and there's good relationships is what I'm trying to commit to.
Yeah, it's not a culture issue. It's not. It's an economic decision.
That's
so
correct.
Maybe an increase in pay, we could get some of these guys back.
Possibly. That's why I'm crossing my fingers because I have some folks I'd like to hire back.
Yeah.
So I have 2 questions. I know within the last 2 years we did do an analysis and a pay raise, and we also added the extra person, the extra position to make the 5-man shift. We went from 4 to 5 at that point.
That's correct.
Have you seen, this clearly is creating the overtime issue because we're not able to fill that 5th position that we added because of the turnover. Do you think that, obviously I know that's the right decision to have the 5-man shift, but is that a part of the problem?
It's part of our challenge because we moved from a 5-person or from a 4-person minimum to a 5-person minimum. Right. We're overstaffed by 1 person per shift, but we're already short right now. Technically, as of today, the 2 vacancies, I've got 1 injured and 1 in paramedic school, so I've got 4 persons short. Let me go back on the slides here. If you were to look at each shift, there's 3 shifts there, and we need 5-person minimum. I've already got 4 gone right now, and that's happening right now today. So what happens if somebody needs to take off because of vacation or training or sick? We have to backfill those spots to maintain that minimum 5-person. So that's happening just naturally. And then if we have to send other folks to school, then it's even more overtime.
No, understood. But obviously having the 5-person shift creates the challenge because when we had a 4-person shift, we had more people to fill those vacancies. We didn't have the vacancies.
Theoretically, because we had 4-person minimum with 5 people.
Right.
So we went to 6 people per day to 5-person minimums now. So it's slightly larger.
So now, when we did that that pay change previously, did you see a big increase in applicants?
We did not see a
As a
big
result?
increase in applicants. We had some stability for a little while with the promise of potentially going higher.
Okay.
So we saw a little bit of stability there.
So it really didn't. I mean, I talked to Wade about this, and he was saying that at that point we raised salaries, but we only still stayed within like a 50 percentile. And that was obviously the wrong decision, right? We should have gone to a higher percentile. I mean, yeah, at that point, and that might have put us in a better position.
How far off are we?
I'm sorry?
How far off are we, like, compared to other cities?
I think that might be Sandy's.
Yep, that's coming up in
Sandy's
Sandy's
gonna go over the-
presentation.
Yeah, I
So
think
let's
that'll
go
be
ahead and
next.
move to that unless anybody else has questions for the chief. And I will say, I know industry standard, the departments that have tried the hook, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
It's generally 2 years. And if you look at our data, most of our guys, they're not leaving within the first 2 years because they're not even fully trained in the first 2 years.
Yeah.
So it'd be very difficult for that to work out for us. We'd have to go much longer. And then I would have to speak with our town attorney too, because that's been challenged in court several times as well on the firefighter side of things.
Well, we're going to be compliant. You know that. Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to get this solved. Hi, Sandy.
Hi. Okay. On the next few slides, y'all, we're a perfect segue asking what the cost would be, where do we stand today. But before moving forward, I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge the collaboration effort to get to these numbers. The fire administration, along with a group of firefighters, worked really hard to ensure that they provided the input, the data, and the perspective that when we were working through this compensation review, we had a reality of what really happens in the day-to-day of a fire department. So that it was great working. We went to several meetings over at the fire department, and they put in a lot of this work as well. All right. So as Chief was explaining, there are different positions in the fire department. The goal ultimately would not be to have to not that either, hire an EMT just because of the extra length in that training, but the reality is that's where we're at times. On each of the screens, what we did was provide where Westlake sits today, what the market average is, and what the goal would be in order to retain the employees that we have and also to recruit new employees. On the EMT, we found that Westlake currently is 10% below market average. So there is a recommendation in order to exceed that market average to have a starting point of 77,150. I'd like for you to keep in mind these are current figures with other cities. Other cities are doing this right now as well. So while we're comparing our market average, we need to know that that market average may be moving up during this next fiscal year also. So we're asking at an 80th percentile just so that we can ensure that we're still staying slightly ahead, hoping that others don't increase too much and we still remain competitive.
Andy, may I ask a question about
Yes, sir.
choosing, and maybe this is for Chief Art as well. Why 80th percentile? Because I know for the places or the positions where we're under market, it makes a lot of sense to be at least at market. I mean, we could be at the 100th percentile, and we know that we'd be at the top of the range. Why the 80th? Why not the 70th? I mean, we're going from either at or below average, way above average. Why did we choose that?
Sure, I can attest to part of that as the town manager. So when we go back through and we look at these comparison cities, going to the 80th percentile in most of these positions, I think in captain may be the only difference, but in most of these positions, it still has 2 to 3 departments in our
immediate 9 comparison cities. When we look at the average DFW market, it's very similar. So when you're talking about average or the 50th percentile, I know when I'm looking at data, I hate that term because that means half the people out there are better than we are, right? So I don't want to, being at the 50th percentile in the DFW market, there's 14 different fire departments just in NEFTA that we compare ourselves with pretty closely in how we run and operate and how we train together. So when you start going out to the outer DFW area, that 80th percentile, there's still quite a few departments that are going to be above us in our area, and this ensures that we're competitive. I don't want to go to the top, and this is a very controversial statement, and the firemen will probably punch me in the ear next time they see me. But I don't want to be at the top because I want culture to mean something.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let me ask you something. So let's say I like round numbers. I'm going to use 15K. Let's say we went up 15K per firefighter. I think there's per new hire. That's going to take them above people that have been there 1 year and 2 years as well, right? Because you're going to have a disparity in new hire versus somebody that's there. So or am I wrong?
Well, part of this request is to move from a range that we're currently in to an actual step plan. So it would really be very similar to what we do on the academy side with the teacher, which I know as council came in, sometimes that's different coming from the outside world or the corporate world on how we actually work on steps. So the study, what we did and how we came up with what the total cost would be is that we take current firefighters and their years of experience in that particular position and ensure that they are on the correct step. This is something that's been requested from the fire department. It's a very common in the fire world, but there are maybe 2 schools of thought on that. Do you lock yourself into these steps until they are voted on and passed again to increase? And that seems to be the way that they would prefer to go. They want to know where they're going to be next year.
So there's 21 firefighters, right? Something like that? 21 total?
18. Yes, there's 21 in their department, but that's including the chief and...
Okay.
Yes.
Simple math. If you paid each of them $15,000 a year more, each of them, that's $315,000, right? That's significantly less than the $500,000 we're burning every year, a year training people. And I'm a big believer.
Absolutely.
The only reason I was ever successful is I hired extraordinary people, and my goal is to pay them as much money as I can get away with. And I'm a big believer in that. You get better people, you get loyalty from it. Pay does drive loyalty. You put culture on top of that, it becomes the greatest thing in the whole world, right?
Absolutely.
So, the worst thing we can do is say, hey, let's do this pay increase, let's do this right, and we minimize, we choose the minimum amount that we think we're going to need to be able to solve the problem. The problem's going to happen again here in another couple of years. It's just going to face us. Why not go up and if we are spending $506,000 a year training people that we lose, I'm better off taking $500,000 or $400,000 of that and giving that in pay raises to people and seeing if that keeps people around. And take care of the entire department. That allows you to give raises not to the new hires, to everyone on the step system, and you're still saving $100,000 a year. And if you just give $15K, which gets you dramatically above what your current market average is, and it's above the $77,000, you're up at $82,000. So now you're getting competitive with Southlake and Keller, or Southlake and Colleyville, which are drivers. Still saving $200,000 a year over what we would do if we can reduce the
Mr. Goudet, you're exactly right, and I think when you go to the end of the slides here, you're going to see that going with the method that we went with, it is more of an industry standard and something that they're used to seeing, so it's something that they can get behind as firefighters, and they'll understand a lot of what we talked about with step plans, right, is understanding where you're going to be in 4 or 5 years. There's a pro and a con to step plans, and we've talked about this with the fire department, right? Step plans are either funded or they're not funded. So you either go to the step annually or they're just not funded completely. It's not a high performers get it, low performers don't. It's a step plan, right? So the only difference would be is in a fire department, police department environment, if you're a problem, you don't worry about an increase, they get rid of you. I mean, they don't mess around with this at all, right? So if it's a safety issue, it's something like that, that's going to be a major problem. They're going to get rid of you. So you're going to see that this 80th percentile will put us exactly where you're talking about. It's a little over $360,000, and we can jump to that last slide if you want to, and just see what that true number is, and then we can work backwards if council has any further questions. But it's $357,000. If we start, is the annual cost on that, and if we do it at mid-year now, which would helpfully, like the mayor was talking about, help with the recruiting for those open positions today, it's only $151,000 for the remaining of the year. So, and then next year it would be $357,000 above what their annual costs are this year. Still considerably less than the $500,000.
If you give it a good raise,
that's correct,
and it ends up impacting every one of our firefighters.
Absolutely.
It pays dividends. You can probably then come back in and take a look at, do we do a 2-year retention agreement for new firefighters coming in? Because we're giving you a well above market pay to come here and see how that floats. I mean, it's something to look at or where it's been tried, but those things work in every other job in the world.
That is the plan. And if you see here, looking at the annual increases, the majority of the department is firefighter paramedics, but that's also where the majority of the money is going. Right, so we're seeing that the problem is getting solved because we're putting the money where our problem is. We're making sure that those captains and the drivers are on those step plans as well, so we don't have an overlap in pay. Nothing is a little more wonky in a paramilitary environment when the person you're supervising makes a lot more money than you do. So we have to have that specific gap, 5% increase. So that's what we've done. That's what we've done. There you go. Yes, sir.
Simple. I do want to echo when Chief Art said on those exit interviews, I've sat with some of the folks leaving, and it's almost painful to see it. Like, we don't want to leave, but we are being offered this much money. It's like, how can I do it? I have a family, but literally sitting in the office saying those words. And we still hear from them every once in a time, and that's from HR. I'm not usually the department they'll call back, but I do hear from a lot of the staff that leaves, so. Yeah.
Wade, where's the money going to come from?
I'm sorry?
Where's the money going to come from?
Well, we gave you a positive budget this year of over $3 million. So we would do a budget transfer from that overage to fund this cost.
Yeah, we think we should also challenge the chief to reduce the people leaving, and that's part of the challenge because then he can pay for it himself.
That's exactly right.
Well, and also by raising these salaries, you'll probably be able to, get people in at the higher training level, so you don't have to do the training, right? I mean, that's the goal is to get the paramedic.
We would love to be tracking that. So we're going to track that. If this is approved tonight, then we're going to be tracking that over the next several years, and we're going to be able to show you exactly how many dollars we've saved in doing this.
Yeah, I just, a couple things. We're getting ready to talk about budget and everything going forward. This council has done a fabulous job. Our financial condition, I didn't realize this till a few weeks ago, our general fund's gone up 28.6%. Since this council's been together, right? We are going well. We know we have a lot of things in front of us. And I think the expectations from our residents is we need to manage this money very tightly. But the other expectations, we are Westlake. And the money's going out the door, Todd, to your point. And a lot of organizations get this wrong, right? They're not going to do the raise and they're going to continue. They don't understand. We have the data now to understand, and we have the money. So I would encourage y'all to get this in place. And Chief, just be all over the numbers and report back to us. And I mean, what I'd love to see if this gets passed is tomorrow you have 20 people applying for a job, and that would tell us that we did the right thing.
And 5 of them are people who just left.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Sandy, one quick question. So this is moving us to a step plan. How is it designed now?
In a range.
In a range.
Yes.
So within those ranges, depending on the years of service, it depends. The salary is dependent on that, or is it?
Well, when I first got here,
is there a discrepancy, I guess, between firefighter salaries?
And so it has shifted. In the 5 years that I've been here, it's kind of shifted with the mentality of we don't give outside credit at all. And I was like, whoa, because I'm used to, as people come in, we look at experience, where would you fit? And they were like, no, from house to house. Well, every city around us started honoring that outside credit, and that was another piece of us staying behind. So over the years, we've tried to go into like, well, let's bring some folks in, give them the credit, but then we had to make sure we were keeping some internal equity also, because you don't want to rock the boat that way. So to answer your question, we were at a range. We've done the homework where everybody would be placed with their correct years of service, and that's where we came up with those numbers. And before we leave I leave the podium, what we are asking is that it would be effective May 4th. It's not exactly half the year, a little less than half, but that would really help with the vacancies, and it's just a good point for us to move forward. It'll come back in the regular session, but food for thought.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that makes complete sense to me.
Now, Chief, do you believe that having a step plan is also an attractive thing for people to come in?
Yes, sir.
As a recruiting tool?
Yes, sir, because the most popular departments in DFW have step plans. It's not the only plan. There are ones with salary ranges, but what we find is most of the popularity is among those folks knowing what their next year looks like, because they are, in large part, young growing families. They want to know, hey, I'm going to make this much next year, and so on. They see some salary progression, and not a guess on whether the town has budget for it or not. No, we commit to the plan, and then that's what they get.
And I'm assuming that when we come forward 2 years from now, for argument's sake, we would say we're going to have a 5% increase. I'm making this up. 5% increase, and across the board, all the step plans would go up by 5%?
Yes, sir. So the plan as it sits today is that every other year we would go out for another salary survey, just to make sure that we're staying up with the area departments. We don't want to fall below that 80th percentile. If we do, not very far and not very long, right? So if we are on a every other year, so the pace that we've set with our HR now is that on 1 year, we're going to look at benefits and make sure that our benefits are aligned correctly with other departments. And the next year, we're going to look at salaries to make sure that those salaries are aligned with departments. And we just stay in that rotation to ensure that we never have an opportunity. When we're 50% behind, I mean, when we first got here, we were in the 40th percentile. So just getting us to the 50th percentile was over $300,000 that year just to get us to the 50th. That's why we didn't jump from the 40th to the 80th. We needed to bring this in over time. And that's what I talked to the firefighters about is you've got to give us some time to get there. We're a young city who is developing. So as our development increases and the cash starts coming in the door, then we can start doing these kinds of things to get our salaries where they need.
Chief, is this what you want? Or did Wade talk into something less than what you want?
You can tell us on the side.
Because we're going to hold you accountable for keeping the firefighters there and this being the right plan and the right amount of money, the right step plan, because you own it. And if somebody else has sold it to you, that's different than you owning it.
No, we came up with this. So when I say we, the fire department, we had specifically a compensation committee, which included a captain, a driver, firefighter, like 2 firefighters, and it was them in partnership with administration working on what do we want, and then we presented it to town management, including Sandy and Wade, and they said, we think that'll be effective. And so it came from us, and they were so kind as to listen to us. So that's why we're where we're at.
Because we can't do without police officers, firefighters, and teachers. Without them, society doesn't survive, right?
We believe this will be a highly competitive plan that we can retain people.
Expendable.
and recruit new personnel that are currently vacant. So we think we're going to be in the right spot, and I'd love to report to that to you in the future.
I mean, Chief, we know a lot of your guys, right? We see them, they come to the football games and stuff. This is, hopefully you guys will pass this. We want them to hang around. We want them to be happy. It is about economics. They're young. They're having kids and all that. So.
I can't say enough good things about them. I mean, they're a highly trained group, lots of skills, and then I've said it before, but we're one of the only departments in the region that require higher education.
Yeah.
So that's pretty special to me because it's near and dear to my heart because I think this is an education-based community. because we do have the academy, we have Deloitte University, we have Schwab with Training Ground. I think the fire department can adopt that same philosophy, and I think that should hold some weight.
I do too.
So we're doing all the things of any other fire department does, but also have higher education requirements. I think that matters.
Any other questions? Oh, I think we have this later on the agenda.
Yes, sir. Since this is a work session, we can't take any action, but
Right.
you do have an action item on the
Okay.
agenda at the end of the meeting.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy, for
Thank you. Yeah, Sandy,
all the work you
Chief.
They did excellent work on this for sure. All right, the next piece of the work session is really just an inquiry of council. So we talked about the fire department pay. One of the things that I would love to get to as the most important things that we do up here, honestly, to me, has always been meeting strategic goals, right, and taking care of your people.
Yep.
Because you can't do one without the other.
Couldn't agree more.
So part of that is being competitive around all over the place, right? So in the DFW market, right, when you look at area cities, what you see is fire departments and police departments are generally paid at a higher percentile than regular unsworn personnel. So we're not asking that the entire town move to an 80th percentile. I don't want to scare everybody that this is going to be a huge year for raises. That's not exactly what we're saying. But what I am saying is that showing value to our employees is important, right? And what we're really looking for is understanding where council feels that value needs to be laid as well. If we need to be at the 65th percentile or the 70th or 75th percentile, wherever we decide we want to be, it's something that I want to be able to ensure that we're getting good candidates as well. We don't have as much of a turnover problem on the town side as you had on the fire department side, and that's because our salaries are a little bit more competitive in that area, because when we moved to the 50th percentile, we were a lot closer. It was 50th percentile plus 5% last time we moved. And it was a lot closer to being competitive with area cities because they're not quite as high as, like I said, the public service aspect. But I do want to make sure that we are getting good candidates in, and that's where we're hurting more than anything else. The majority of the candidates that we've hired, that I've hired in the last 2 years that I've been here, we're having to hire them at the mid or above the mid on the salary scale. And that's people that I would not bring in at that level that have some experience, but maybe they don't have 15 or 20 years experience to be hired in at the mid-level. So that just tells me right there that our salaries are askew a little bit of where we want to be, and we want to hire in the best people that we possibly can to serve our citizens of Westlake and to ensure that our efficiencies are as strong as they can be, because we are a small city who needs to not have a newbie at every single desk, but actually has some experience, and we can get these things done. So really what I'm thinking about is, as we roll into this budget season, is a conversation with this council to say, where do we want to sit, and what kind of information do you want us to bring forward so we can make that decision? Obviously, we're going to look at turnover rates, right? So we're going to have that information ready for you for attrition statistics. But we're also going to do some other things, right? So we're going to do salary surveys of all of our positions, just like we did for the fire department. We have exit interview information that we'll be sharing. And then another big thing is, like I said, culture matters. So this year, before we finish out the budget process, we're going to do the Gallup Employee Engagement Survey with all of our employees to really understand where we sit as a culture, so that we can make this step in the right direction and ensure that this can't be 100% about pay. It's got to be about culture and pay, right? We have to pay people the amount of money it takes to raise a family today, but then we also want to ensure that culture is the right culture here, that people want to be in Westlake. That's just as important as anything else. So we're going to bring that information to council. The question I have for council at this meeting is there anything else that you would want us to dig into in order for council to make a decision on where we would like to sit in a percentile range with our comparison cities?
I just need to make sure that you're planning for the growth of the town and the associated positional growth that's going to occur with town staff.
Yes, sir.
To meet the needs, because at some point, instead of outsourcing engineering or something, we're going to need a town engineer. Instead of outsourcing, we're going to need it in the town government.
Yes,
So your plan needs to take into consideration when we're going to transition from contracted services to internal employees. And then are you able to hire the quality of the talent that you need? Or we can vote on any ridiculous pay plan there is, right? But if you're not getting the quality and the talent that you need for it, then we're just fooling ourselves,
That's
right?
correct.
So the key is
So
you telling us
understanding
what it's gonna
how
take
to hire
get
people,
quality.
right? That's a big piece of my role too, right? Is understanding how to hire people. We need to be successful in our hiring processes. And, you know, and Jason being over development, he and I talk about this almost on a daily basis, where we're talking about, you know, the future of Westlake and what does our staff need to look like. We don't want to get so big because, or swell so large because of the current development that that we're going to be laying off people in 5 years because the development is slowed and we don't need as many people as we needed before. So we're trying to be smart about this and make sure that any positions that are added, which I don't think we're going to add any new positions in this coming year. If we do, it would probably just be in the public works realm because those guys are working their tails off day and night. But in our other areas, we're pretty solid right now. And I think that we are staffed appropriately for the amount of work that we're doing. So that's something that we're always looking at as well to make sure that we're not overstaffed. But I do want us to be thinking through, it's like, okay, I want to show value to the people that are here. How do we make sure that the culture is accurate, the culture it needs to be is what it needs to be, and that the payment is that way too. Personnel, we all know personnel is almost 80% or a little over 80% of our budget, right? So if I know what my personnel number is going to be every year because this council's decided you're going to be at the 70th percentile for instance, then I know where a large chunk of that money is going to have to go every single year, and then I can build a budget to ensure that we're meeting those strategic goals on what's left.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
May I?
Yeah, please.
Just to jump on what Todd said, I think you said it too. I don't remember in the strategic plan that we talked about the organization of the future. So I think it's something that you need to start thinking about. You know, what does the organization chart look like 3 to 5 years from now? How do we build to that?
Yes, sir.
Also, I think part of that could be outsourcing. There might be some things that you'd want to outsource that you're doing now internally. And the third thing, and you mentioned it with respect to the firefighters, that's benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So is the plan to look at benefits every other year like you're doing with the fire?
Yes, sir. We do that across the board, not just the fire department. We do it everywhere. So we're going to be doing benefits every other year and the salary surveys every other year. Yes, sir.
Way two things. And I know we talked about, Jason and I talked about this the other day, and this is kind of on me. I want you guys to turn into a metric-driven organization, right? I want to know everything. When a permit comes in, what's the time frame, how long you have it, how long to get out. When accounts payable comes in, we have people with those skills up here who know how to do that, but we have to get there because I've been talking about this for a while, right? We have a lot of stuff going on. And the other thing is the experience that a lot of the people have up here is when you look at organization, your top 20, your middle 7, and your bottom 10. Just when you force rank, and I, as a young manager, I hated that. But when you really do it, and you're honest, it kind of falls out that way. But it's, you know, the middle 7 is your key players, your top 20, and the bottom 10, you either manage them up or out. So I would love, if you guys agree, to start thinking about organizations like that, and Kelly's probably the same way. But we got to get to that metric organization because you really can't, you know, if you can't measure it, you can't really manage it. So we have to, and I want to, I think about Jason, you, young guy, these toolboxes you can learn from the corporate side, put it in the municipality, will be huge, just huge how to manage this.
So we are currently underway with that. We've been a little bit slowed because of some of the development
well,
issues
there's a lot of
that we've had, right? There's a lot of things that are going on. But we've been working hard over the last several months, really 6 months, 7 months, developing measures within our strategic plan. So the strategic plan that we have outlined today, every department has come forward with measures for every single one of those, every area that they touch. So in the administration department, for instance, I've got about 12 measures that I'm looking at over the next 5 years to ensure that I'm hitting those things. We're going to get that document finished along with a public-facing dashboard so that everybody can see how we're doing, just us.
And I told Jason I'm going to drop off one of my monthly management books when I worked and just how we viewed on the mortgage side, how we viewed all the stuff, the throughput, the timing, cycle times, you know, cost, all that, and see if you can equate it to the municipality. But that would be a great effort.
I'll offer this. Take it or leave it, but that sounded terrible. I don't mean it that way. If you want help in developing those things, count on us.
Yeah,
count on 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 of us.
Absolutely.
Because we've all been through this.
Yeah,
that's right.
And while we don't know what your metrics should be, we know what metrics should look like in order for us to understand what your business is and for you to be able to manage your business better.
Yes, sir. And I will say probably the most difficult thing has been predictive analytics, right? So we're working real hard on predictive analytics to ensure that we're not just seeing where we sit today, but we're understanding what the decisions we're making today are going to affect tomorrow. So there's a percentage of those measures that will be predictive analytics in every single department. So that's a big piece of where we're pushing. But I know there's a wealth of knowledge up here on this board. And I would love to pick the brains of every single one of you as we're going through this process and sit down and really talk through it. So I'll be reaching out. And
perfect.
You can start off by pushing down to every single department function that you have, that every one of them has to have their personal top 10 KPIs that apply to success in their roles. And just force them to make them. And you're going to find out that 50% of them are not accurate, right? And then you just change them.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So
that's just something I want us to be thinking through as we go through this. So we're going to start gathering this data, and then really we'll bring this back to council as part of the budget process and go into it a little more deeply. So we talked about meeting the strategic goals. We talked about taking care of employees. The other big piece of our budget is the CIP, right? Huge piece of our budget over the next 5 years. As we are a young, growing city, right? We've got a lot of infrastructure that's got to be taken care of over the next 5 years. So with that, Jason Oliver, we hired our new town project manager. He's done an amazing job for us already, working with Dr. Ritchie and the school expansion. So we're really proud of the work he's doing, and he actually tackled this project for me with CIP, working with each of the directors. So I want him to come up and talk a little bit about that process.
Hey, Jason.
And council.
How are you?
Mayor. Hi. Good to finally stand in front of you all. So actually, this 5-year, which is now really a 6-year plan, was relatively simple. It was created last year before I was here, and I was tasked this year with sitting down with each director, going through every line item, seeing what it is, do we need it, why do we need it, what does it cost. Really what I learned was over time, maybe what was most important is when do we really need it. And some of the epiphanies that came out of that were, equipment. Obviously, we have lifespans. We have expected lifespans. Do we have things that are older, newer? I could go on forever, but that's why it's in the document. In the end, really, truly, the document has hardly changed at all because it was done really well. Fortunately, we've had a couple of things move back a year, a couple of things move forward a year, but nothing that's really changed monetarily. The one thing that we have added, of course, is a fire station on the west end of town. And you'll see that if you have this document in front of you, the green blocks are the only changes from last year's document. And so up here under facilities, 2027, we are holding a number for land acquisition. The next year is an approximate number for design of the facility, which is probably pretty accurate at this point. And then a few years down the road, we're showing an approximate cost of the facility. And really, when that facility occurs has a lot to do with when it's needed. So we're holding kind of forward, but...
And we just had X amount of residents just went crazy talking about another fire department, right? But by rule and by process and by growth...
That's correct.
We have to have it in place, and you'll talk about that in detail, but I know that will be... fire station.
It doesn't have to look like the existing one.
It will not look like the existing
secondary station.
Yeah, it will absolutely will not look like the station. Yeah. Although this is the most beautiful fire station I've ever seen in my life.
But just like there's some sensitivities in our town that you'll learn.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of them, but we understand there's rules and processes to put just another kind of substation more than a fire station.
That's
right, and right now we're showing it in about 2031, but that's going to be defined by growth on that end of town.
That's right.
And the need. So. Otherwise, most of the CIP really, like I said, it's kind of stuck where it was from last year. There's a few numbers that have dropped just because some equipment has been purchased. We've learned radios, things like that. We could change specifications. But there's not a lot more detail in there other than what's right there in front of you.
Can you just give a bit of detail on the considerable expense for vehicles and equipment next year that's new?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The vehicles and equipment expense, $2.4 million next year. That's a new number.
For 2026?
For 2027.
In 2027, actually, if you look at the breakdown, that dropped slightly is the reason it's green. I believe there was some equipment that was no longer needed. I think it's real close to whatever last year's number was. If you're looking at that 2027 number.
Well, and just to ease minds again, right? When you're looking at a fire station, we don't build fire stations until we need fire stations.
That's right.
But you also have to be able to plan out an expense that's going to be, $10 million to build a fire station. And compared to I think we paid $19 million for the last fire station that was 2018. So, yeah, which is probably $24 million now. So as you can tell from the number that we're speaking about, it's not going to be anything like the fire station we have. It is a true substation that would house the people that are needed to give you a response time within 6 minutes to anywhere on that west side of town. That's the biggest thing, is you have to be able to make those times. As you can imagine, anybody that doesn't breathe for 5 or 6 minutes is you're not going to get back, right? So you're not going to get those folks back. So we need those response times to be in the right area when the growth happens, and we're making sure that those things are being accurately forecasted.
Everything we do is about communication and informing our residents and stuff, so we get in front of the stuff with that conversation.
That's right. And then, and thank you very much for the hard work that you did on this, Jason. Jason did an excellent job of sitting down and really going through the details of this plan with all of our directors. So when we talk about how do we fund this, right? So that's kind of the next big question. As you're looking at that sheet and you're seeing about $58 million worth of needs over the next 5 to 6 years. What we've been doing over the last 2 years that I've been here, and really the previous year, you've seen a tremendous amount of fund balance, and that is for this purpose, right? I mean, we know that as this city grows, you're going to have another water pump station, right? You're going to need another water tower. You're going to need to add water lines. You're going to have to start replacing those things. So the cost of that goes up pretty high, and we don't need to have $58 million worth of debt associated with this town, even though we honestly have the cap for it. And I'm going to bring up Ted Christensen, our financial advisor, to talk through some of that and some of the S&P requirements, because the last thing I want to do is us lose our AAA bond rating through all this, and it costs us more money to borrow.
Might be the last thing you do.
That's exactly right.
I
It
think
would be
we
the
all
last
do.
thing I do. It would probably be the last thing I do here in Westlake if we lost the AAA bond rating.
But I'm glad we're going to talk about that, because we kind of had some side conversations and put some schedules together on the debt. We just need to educate our residents.
That's
to
right.
make sure we're talking about it. Ted, thanks for being here, talking about the right way. But when you look at the statistics, we're in very good shape today. And then you look about what we have potentially coming as far as generating revenue, our ratios of, debt to appraised value, or however we look at it, however Ted's going to tell us to look at it. We're really good.
Yeah. And if you look at our numbers today of unassigned fund balance, so that does not count our 180 days that by policy we're required to keep of fund reserve just in case something terrible happens, right? Our rainy day fund. We've got about a little over $20 million above the 180 days. So we're doing very well on unassigned fund balance. So I need another $10 million, which I need to deliver you guys over the next 3 years, right? In a budget that makes sense and puts $2 million back a year, $3 million back a year to that fund balance in order to be able to pay for this with 50% cash. And that's the goal, right? The goal is to pay for all this 50% cash and not have to borrow more than the half of that $58 million.
Building a fortress balance sheet, as we
exactly
call
right.
it.
Yes, sir. So with that, thank you, Jason. I'd like to ask Ted Christian to come up,
Jason,
our
thank you.
financial advisor. He's been with us for several years now and done excellent work. He's always answers the phone every time Casey or I call, which
Absolutely.
is a miracle in itself. So
Send us
I'm gonna say
emails.
that.
Thanks, Wade. So as Wade kind of teed it up, my overriding goal, I'm a resident of Westlake. I have the same goal, maintain that AAA rating. So I'm doing a refunding bond right now for the city of Sanger. They're a AA plus rated credit. I was able to ask the guys on our rating call to stay on with me. I gave them a hypothetical, AAA city, and this is how much fund balance they have, et cetera, et cetera. They're very cautious about sharing how they rate credits. It's amazing. They protect it like it's gold at Fort Knox, but they shared some of their data with me, and I've worked with Casey, and we actually looked at it. You're really in good shape. We, as a city, are really, really in good shape. One metric you just can't overcome is we have a low population versus a very high assessed value. So if you go debt per resident, we're never going to win that argument. Well, we will win that argument because they have one of their criteria is saying is if you have an extraordinary something to offset that, which we do with our Deloitte and Schwab and Fidelity.
If you do it debt per our daytime population,
we are
it's like
daytime
$1,600.
population. We have reasons to overcome that, and that's why we are AAA. We have a ton of cash, and that's the one thing I really harped on was how much can we draw down and still be in that AAA category. And they wouldn't come out and admit it, but it kind of around about, I think it's 180 days. If you're 180 days or better, you're in great shape. So doing the 50% debt to 50% cash as you work through these projects, we're going to be in really good shape. So currently, there's another metric the mayor and I exchanged some emails about. AAA cities, 2 to 4% of your assessed value is about the right amount of debt. You shouldn't try not to have more than 4% of that. We are currently, including debt that's supported by water and sewer revenue,
all debt. Yeah.
We're 1.8%. So tax supported, we're only at 0.43%.
So what you're saying is the mayor and the Wade are doing a good job managing our town's financials?
Yes.
No,
thank you.
No, y'all are. But I will tell you, and thank you, Ted, because I couldn't sleep one night. I'm thinking about our debt. You get on, you try to find the data. It is all over the place.
Yeah, it is. I love it. We're on a weekend. We're exchanging emails about this. I'm thinking, man, I'm not the only one that likes this stuff.
But say that, yeah. Well, but say that again. We're like, I think one of my met was 1.2, but it's 2 to 4. We're in really good shape.
We're in really good shape.
Yeah.
So if you take, including all your debt that's water and sewer supported, you could increase your debt by 50%, which would take you. We're currently at about $52 million total debt. You could increase it by $26 million, and that would put us at 2.7%. We're still well in that range, on the low end of the 2 to 4% range, and that would still only draw your cash down to 300 days or something. So we're in a great situation with that. So that's kind of the overriding goal. Casey's doing a fantastic job. She's going to talk to you more about your audit. That's the biggest challenge cities are having right now is getting their audits done within 180 days, because the state has come out and said if you don't do that, you can't raise your taxes even $1 the following year. I had 2 of our city clients today email us and say we can't get it done. It's March 30th. They can't get it done. Their auditors can't do it. Casey's been banging on your auditor to get it done, and it looks like it is. But
are we good, Casey? Are we good on the audit?
She's going to talk about it. There is a challenge that she's going to need you guys to address. Because
we are good on the audit.
Sorry, Casey.
Casey will tell you. I emailed her. I said, Casey, I don't care what you have got to get. I mean, that's just a huge thing. So she's dealt really well with the challenges that. There's an outside challenge that you guys are part of. They were here earlier.
We're going to discuss.
It's going to have to be dealt with. It makes it hard for her. So overall, that's where you are debt-wise. The number one challenge you're going to have is the state of Texas, the legislature and the governor, is they don't like you. I'm saying that on video. They don't like you. They don't want you to issue any debt. They don't want you to raise another dime of taxes.
Now, to be clear, you're not talking about Westlake per se. You're talking about small towns.
I'm talking about cities across the state.
Talking about the whole state.
I'm talking Houston and Dallas all the way down to Westlake. So they don't want you to issue one more dollar of taxes. So or to debt or any other raise your taxes at all. One of Governor Abbott's primary things he put in his bullet points for next legislative session is that to raise even one more dollar of taxes, it has to pass by a vote of your residents at 66%. I've been doing this for 20 some odd years. I'm not sure we've had but one or two maybe bond elections that passed by 67%. I've never seen it. Well, I would say that it's rare that a mayor that has an opponent gets 66%. Much less, it's just they have the wrong target. So you're going to have to 2027 is right around the corner. So this time next year they're going to be trying to press something through that's going to impact you.
I told Ted and I talked a little bit. One of the things that's real interesting going through an election process right now, you get surveys to fill out to get endorsements by whoever, and they all start out talking about property tax and talking about taking the power away from the city and the town. I am adamantly against that.
Yeah.
We are working for hopefully our senator and our congressman for the state of Texas that they get elected, but I'm offended that they think Austin can run our town better than we can.
Yeah. I'm a local control guy, and I mean, if Dallas wants to tax their brains out, that's good for Dallas.
Yeah.
But Westlake should be able to make their own decisions. That's why we elected all of you.
Well, and you can't paint every municipality with the same brush is what they're trying to do.
That's correct. So in any case, you're in really good shape. My recommendation is a controlled drawdown on the cash with debt. In a perfect world, if you have stuff you can do this year, I'd probably try and get something done in 2026. Fiscal year ends September 30th, so it could actually be towards the end of the year. 10 million or less in a calendar year is what's called bank qualified. That gets you a little bit better interest rate. And then look again for 27. So I don't want you to borrow before you need it, but by the same token.
But like we prepped for this year, right?
Looking at the challenges ahead, I think it's something that you all should be looking at. You have a good capital improvement plan. Wade and Casey are all over this. And we'll be ready to go when you're ready. Happy to answer any questions.
The whole property tax debate that they're talking about in Austin, about doing away with property tax. Well, how does anything survive with that?
Well, my impression is they want to get rid of school taxes. That's kind of where
they've done such a fine job.
I think it's focused on school taxes.
No, it doesn't.
And so, in which I pay Keller ISD taxes. Honestly, I'm pretty sure that's who
you do.
We pay over there.
You do.
They're fairly high. It's lower than it was before, but when your AVs go up every year, the biggest part of your property tax bill is your school tax portion.
Yeah.
That's where the pressure is coming on the legislature to deal with that. Sorry? You pay to Southlake? Yeah. It depends where you live in town.
So. It depends on what we have to Keller.
Carroll is lower than Keller. So, So the good news is Westlake kids can go to Carroll ISD now. So if that's what you choose to do. I know some of my neighbors actually do. They can, of course.
To your point, we got to be on our game because the nice thing about our school that we complain about all the time is we get no school property tax.
Right.
But if they reduce that, Todd sent me an article. Kelly, I think I sent it to you. The voucher program, they were shooting for 70,000. They got over 200,000. Right. Good luck with that. Again, I'm not a fan of that because I don't know how they're going to manage it, how they're going to control.
Well, they're going to throw more money at it
and everything. They're going to throw more money at it and take it away. In the state of Texas, as much as they brag, we're still at the lower end per student funding in this country. So, might wind up we have a really good model when it's all said and done. But we have to be engaged with Wade, Kelly, with Austin. We got to keep those, and all the council as well. We got to be engaged with our representatives.
We'll hang around to the break if anybody has any questions.
Always good seeing you. Thank you.
All right, so that's a peek at our CIP over the next 5 to 6 years. I don't expect that to change. We've done the hard work already on this budget, so that is likely going to be your CIP list that you're going to see in the budget that's presented. So moving on, the next is the subsidy for Westlake Academy. We've done a great job of growing here in Westlake and growing the right way. So really, we're expecting to see quite a bit more revenue coming in over the next 3 to 5 years. Something we're going to talk about in executive session. We'll spell a little more of that out for you guys, but we have some deals in the works currently that will greatly affect. I
can't believe you can say that with a straight face.
Hey, we're getting better at this, Mayor. So, but we have some deals in place that are going to make a really big difference in the amount of revenue that we see on an annual basis. And it's coming within the next 2 to 3 years. It's going to take that long to get it built, but we're going to see something really spectacular for Westlake. And with that being said, I know when we came out with this original strategic plan, we had some previous years before the strategic plan came out where some decisions were made that really drew down the city's ability to go out for CIP because we had a lot of increase of needed revenue at the academy, and we just didn't know how to do it any other way. So we had a strategic plan in place that stepped down the subsidy that goes to the academy every single year. Right now, this last year, we had $1.5 million in a subsidy that goes to the academy. We were scheduled to drop that down to 1.25 this year and then 1 million the year after that. I'm coming to this council looking for some direction and to move away from that in the strategic plan and just to leave the academy subsidy at 1.5 until we get to the end of that 2031 that's on their CIP list today. Because then we know that we'll have all the debt taken care of that we need to. We'll have a lot more revenues coming in the door, and then we can reassess really the academy needs as they're growing as well. But the last thing I want to do is stifle the academy and their ability to do a good job by not giving them the money that they need to do their work. So I'm suggesting that we stay at the $1.5 million until the end of 2031, and at that point we would readdress this issue. Obviously, we do this on an annual basis, so if we need to readdress it sooner than that, it needs to increase sooner than that for something special or some economic change that we didn't foresee, then we have that ability. But with the strategic plan giving us specific direction on this, I would need council direction to move away from that strategic plan. So it's not a vote, but it is something that I need to hear from this council. Yeah, to think about tonight and really give me some feedback even tonight, because we're going to be starting the academy's budget here pretty soon if they haven't already started already. I think they've got a kickoff meeting coming in the next 2 weeks. So we want to make sure that we understand, what we're going to be putting over there so Kelly understands how much revenue she has to work with on her budget. So with that, I'll just answer any questions that you have.
Wade and I talked briefly about this. So one, I fully support, I don't vote, I fully support on the 1.5 going forward. But here's what I would like us to think, whatever the time frame. You guys are gonna get mad again, but I think about the holding company thing. I got 2 subsidiaries. I got the town and I have the school, municipality and the school. And I think the school should share in the upside of the revenue as we have things coming in. So what I would love council to think about for the long term, so when we're all gone and our replacements are gone, I do not want to fall back what's happened at the school that I've seen previous administrations do. I want to make sure they have funding in place. So I would love for you guys to figure out, is it a % of revenue? Is it pennies of sales tax or whatever it is? So the academy does have upside when the town grows, and they don't have to wait for someone to dole it out, but they do have upside in that growth. And just, I think there's some ways to figure that out, if that makes sense.
I have a comment here.
That's right. I would say, well, yeah, I would I would, is it 5% of revenue, 8% of revenue, something like that, depending on how you count revenue? Is it sales tax? I don't want to solve it here. I just want y'all to think about how do we leave the school finances in a better place than we have. Kelly's doing an amazing job. We understand the school finances better than we ever have. Did some work in Austin. We have money coming in. But I don't want them to be scraping for every penny. It would be nice to do some things where they start to build an endowment. They start to have some money and some flexibility. So
I have a comment here. The town has obviously grown a lot over the last 20 years, and that's a lot due to organizations coming in, taking advantage of the town's resources in a good way, right? Our natural resources, our infrastructure resources, et cetera. We have historically been very generous with incentives to bring those folks in. I think there's a huge opportunity for us as a town to encourage more giving corporate social responsibility directed towards the academy. As we all know, we have tried many times in many different ways to get our large, very well-endowed corporate neighbors to participate in some funding activity for the school, as small as a scoreboard, that we couldn't even get funded or even partially funded through some of these larger organizations. So as we are negotiating these new deals for new structures for these campuses, for new potential businesses coming in, one of the things that we should go into every negotiation with is, all right, now you need a sweetener for the academy, right? This isn't just a relationship with the town because you are going to send your kids to this school, right? And so we want to make sure that this academy, which is really benefiting the town and your presence in the town, it's attracting employees for you who want to be part of this community. You need to be providing funding for that as well.
I couldn't agree more, and I can't get in the detail. Wade and I had a very interesting meeting, and Jason yesterday, with a resident about doing some things, different way to approach our corporate partners and stuff. We really haven't done a great job there, right? And I think that's going to be some exciting things that we'll put in.
Yeah, just to be clear, the reason why I bring this up is that no one from the school is in negotiations with these organizations that are coming into the town. If they were, I better believe that they would be advocating for some benefit for the school as well, especially considering that that will then impact the enrollment in the school because employees of these organizations.
Yeah. Well, you know, we had, you know, when I got first elected to council, we had a consulting group. Still like this idea, but it was go to our 3 corporate partners and say, you can all have 20 kids academy, but you have to pay X. Now, where's Janet? She just flipped over in her chair. Sorry. We'd have to get all that taken care of through charter work, but somehow to endear them. And, you know, we had a couple other ideas, and nobody wanted to entertain it then. But I do think there are some creative ways that we can do that. And, you know, we'll talk in executive session. We had a really interesting conversation with one of these potential companies that will be very civic-minded, I think. But I do think, you know, I got to thank the previous administrations, the $10,000 a lot for Westlake Academy, whoever put that in. That was a nice touch and you know, helps fund the school and then goes from there. But I just want us to think, we've been together, you know, our terms are, this administration's been together for 2 years for the most part. As we go into the next phase, how do we really tighten things up and really get formality around doing great on the finances, we're doing great on development, really take that next step to make our town.
And I agree, and I think our staff agrees as well. I think there's better ways that we can subsidize the academy in the future. The thing that I want to caution council about is the CIP plan. Because when development comes in, there is a requirement that we do not affect the water, the sewer, the streets, and all those things. That is why those things are in place. It's why we put impact fees in place. It's why a lot of those deals are structured in the way they are. So I agree, Mr. Dwayne. I think that we do need to make sure that we're doing that. And actually, Jason, in the last couple development deals we've done, we're increasing that allotment to the academy from 10,000 to 15. So that's a little something that we've done on every resident that's coming in. But we need to take that further. I would push heavily towards if we're going to do something after the 21 or 31 time period once infrastructure is in place, I would advocate for a number of cents of sales of property tax because really we want to all swell and feel the economic effects together, right? If you put a floor on it, if you do anything like that, boats, right? That's exactly right. I mean, when times are great, but we all need to be able to say when times are bad and revenue drops, then we all need to change how we do our businesses, right? Whether it's from the town side or the academy side, and I'm sure Kelly would agree. We can't just go with an open checkbook for either one of our organizations,
No.
right? So we do need to be mindful of those things, and we need to be mindful that infrastructure has got to be in place so that every time you flush a toilet, water removes that stuff away,
It's
right?
important.
That's right. Every time you turn on a sink, you get
What's the
water
number one thing
pouring
for a
out.
mayor?
And
No
there's
boil water
That's
notices.
exactly what I was going to say. No boiled water notices, right? So, and we're moving in that direction. We've got some great things coming, and I'm not worried about leaving this at the 1.5 million. So I'd like to at least get some.
I think you need that. You need a consensus from us that, and Kelly,
That's right.
for your preparation of your budget, that we're comfortable with doing that. I mean, unless anybody has any different feeling, I think we should give them that.
We're allowed to do that now. I know.
Yeah.
it's
No, we're
not-
not- you can give direction.
Directionally.
This
yeah.
is directional.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Right,
you're.
it's guidance.
Yeah. And again, I threw that out just to be thinking about as we're thinking about the school and development. Yeah, it's how are we going to do this and how do we keep Kelly and her team doing what they're doing?
Exactly.
Excellent.
The academy is such a huge piece of why people come to Westlake, right? So we want to make sure that the academy stays the crown jewel that it is, for sure.
No doubt.
Okay, well, I will take any feedback from council over the next several weeks on that so that we can get the academy's budget started. So Kelly can get that academy's budget started. The last piece that we're going to talk about in the work session is only 2 or 3 minutes here, and it's really catching up on where the audit is. Casey's going to come forward with that.
And he spoiled it for you, Casey. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm
But-
sorry.
We will meet our legal obligation when we file audited financials on Friday with the town secretary.
Well said.
So just a little background about really some key differences between the town and the academy audit and this year versus any prior year for the town in particular. So we are subject to local government code 103 that says all cities in the state of Texas have to have audited financial statements. The law has been on the books for years. It's always said 180 days after the fiscal year end, which, if you're looking at a calendar, is generally the 28th of March every single year. Y'all are also familiar that we have not met that deadline for the last several years, in part because of turnover, but our previous auditors also struggled with our housing authority. And so this past year at the state level, there was a new bill that passed, Senate Bill 1851, that says now there's teeth behind not meeting that deadline. So beginning this year, any city within the state of Texas that does not have their audited financials filed with the town secretary on or before the 180th day past the fiscal year, they will be limited to adopting the no new revenue property tax rate or lower for the upcoming fiscal year. So very large consequences, and it's going to hit a lot of folks. It's also something that our lieutenant governor is very passionate about. He sent out letters last year just putting everybody on their toes, saying, I'm going to be looking at this. So for us, that's been a huge struggle because of our component units. So we, as small as we are incredibly complicated whenever it comes to our audit. We have multiple component units that are all layered in and are all done based on very specific schedules. So the town and the academy do not have the same fiscal year. The foundation and the academy do, but our housing authority has a separate fiscal year from all three of those. So for timing process, what needs to happen is every single year the foundation needs to have their audited financials done first so that those can be reported within the academy's financial audit that's due to TEA in mid-November. Then that information has to be rolled into the town's audit as a component unit, as well as TISHA and their two entities having to be rolled up into one audit and then provided to the city for our final audit. So we just like things to be fun and complicated all at the same time.
Degree of difficulty.
Right. And so all of that happening in a very, very condensed time frame. To make you all aware, TISHA, so Texas Student Housing Authority, they have two locations, as Tracy mentioned today, one in Denton and one in College Station. The College Station property did not get their final audit report from our previous auditors until February 24th. And so it is not possible to conduct a full scope audit and all of the financial statements that are needed within the time frame for us to meet our 180-day mark this Friday. So we will have a disclaimed opinion, meaning that because they are not able to fully perform the audit on our component unit, everything else is rosy and great, but they just have to make a statement as part of their opinion that says they weren't able to finish this one part. It is not material to us because we are not actually responsible for any of Tisha's financials. It's just going to be weird.
Do we, and Wade, I know we talked about this, like I have sat through a couple of these Texas, I went to their board meeting. I do not understand how they're tied into the town. What if they dissolve? What happens? Who owns those properties? But how do we get them separated? That the town, that they don't hold up an audit?
I don't think a quick primer on that. Like 1 minute. Like what is the relationship there?
So legally speaking, we created a housing authority, and under state law in Texas, a governmental entity must be the founder, and you legally must appoint their board. And so,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, is Mayor Bradley that did it, who founded.
And so, for auditing purposes, the fact that we control their board is the reason that they are considered a component unit for our financials. We can't get around appointing their board.
And why is that?
It's in their creation documents. So,
Can't they amend those?
No. Not that portion of it, because legally speaking, they have to be governed by a board such as council. It has to be a governing body as a government. So we're stuck. And the other thing that we would have to do, even if, so let's say we did want to go down that route, you would have to, we appoint their board members. You would have to appoint board members that want to dissolve completely their debt, because we can't dissolve them when they have any debt. And they've got quite a bit of debt. And we've got no way, unless the current board members on Tisha agree not to take out any more debt, which we just heard they need to do a pretty significant remodel in Denton, which would cause them to go out for more debt. So really, there's no way for us to get out from underneath this housing authority, but we can work better with their board and try to make sure that the audits are completed on time. So that's where Casey and I are going to focus our attention, is really talking to Mr. Bradley about that and making sure that their board understands I had several calls with him over the last 2 months saying, we've got to get this thing completed at Texas A&M. That was the only part of their audit that was not completed. So they were arguing back and forth over language in the audit document over some ownership of debt. I mean, that was really all it was.
They had litigation going on.
That's correct.
Is that still going on, or did that get solved?
No, it's still going on.
It's still going on. And do we have their balance sheet? Do we have their financials?
We do.
Like, what's their total assets? I mean, what's their?
I don't have that on the top of my head, but I can absolutely share.
And wait, I would ask, just as we get through summer at appropriate time, we just need to. Everybody on the board needs to understand this better than we do, because this has happened the 4 years I've been around. This audit's held things up, and I don't understand. Like, do we have any liability with this housing agents or the housing agents?
We have zero liability when it comes to any of the debt associated with or the expenditures associated with the housing authority. We know that for a fact. But because we appoint the board, and because those housing authorities have to be set up and the system was set up, then we would have to decide to dissolve the housing authority altogether, which would mean get rid of their debt, dissolve the housing authority. Their board would have to do that with backing.
I don't know that look, it does some good, right? We've seen what they do for Westlake Academy students and all, but I just think we need to all cumulatively need to understand it a little better, and we got to manage them better on these audits, and we'll go from there.
That's where our concentration is. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that we are going to have our audit completed, but it will be
So on Friday, what everybody here is used to seeing is what we call our annual comprehensive financial report, or our ACFR. What we'll be filing on Friday is our audited financial statements. So if you think about our actual ACFR, it's about 180 pages. All that's going to be missing from what's being filed on Friday is going to be an introductory statement and our statistical section. That's it. So all of the financial schedules are still there. They're still audited. We're just not including some of the narrative at the very beginning so that we can come back whenever Tisha is audited, release a full ACFR to really make that demarcation between our legal obligation and our service level obligation and explain the delay.
And it's immaterial, right, to our overall.
Right. Yeah, it's if you look at any of our financial statements, it just kind of sits on the end, and we hardly talk about it in any other part of our document.
And we've ensured that this meets the state requirements so that we won't be held accountable.
Okay, good. All right. Any questions?
Casey, you are absolutely positive that we are in compliance by 2 pieces.
Correct. In fact, the vast majority of entities throughout the state, that's how they file. An ACFR is actually over and above what the legal piece tells us to do. Thank y'all so
Casey.
much.
All right, let's go through do you guys want to take a break here? Can we, it's 6:21, can we take, you were right, Michael, it's long. 6:21, let's take a 5-minute break. Then we'll get back on the consent agenda. Aren't you glad you came back from Florida for this? Yeah,